Welcome to our in-depth guide to Kubernetes networking. Today we're exploring the essential concept of services in Kubernetes. In Kubernetes, services enable communication between different components of your application and with external clients, ensuring smooth operation and accessibility. Let's start with ClusterIP. A ClusterIP service exposes the application on a cluster internal IP, making it accessible only within the cluster. Here's an example of a ClusterIP service configuration in YAML. YAML API version, v1 kind service metadata name, my ClusterIP service spec selector ports, target port 80 type, ClusterIP. Next we have NodePort. A NodePort service exposes the application on each node's IP at a static port, allowing external access using. Here's an example of a NodePort service configuration in YAML. YAML API version v1 kind. Service metadata, name my NodePort service spec selector ports, NodePort 30007 type NodePort. Now let's talk about LoadBalancer. A LoadBalancer service exposes the application externally using a cloud provider's load balancer, automatically assigning an external IP. Here's an example of a LoadBalancer service configuration in YAML. YAML API version, v1 kind. Service metadata, name my LoadBalancer service spec selector ports, target port 80 type load balancer. Lastly, we have headless services. These do not allocate a cluster IP and are used for scenarios where you want to manage individual pod endpoints directly. Here's an example of a headless service configuration in YAML. YAML API version v1 kind service metadata name my headless service spec cluster IP none selector ports, target port 80. Let's see how we can manage these services using practical commands. First, to create a ClusterIP service, bash kubectl apply f-clusteripservice.yaml. Verify it, bash kubectl get services next. To create a NodePort service, bash kubectl apply f-NodePort service, YAML verify it, bash kubectl get services. Finally, to create a load balancer service, bash kubectl apply f-load balancer service, YAML verify it, bash kubectl get services. To access a service, use the DNS name or IP address provided by Kubernetes. For a ClusterIP bash curl, http/myclusterip service. For a NodePort bash curl, ttp//30007. And for a load balancer, bash curl, tp//. Using services in Kubernetes, you achieve service discovery, load balancing, and external access for your applications, ensuring high availability and scalability. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth Kubernetes tutorials. Stay tuned for our next video.